you go to Replit here, I want everyone to do this so you can follow along. You'll hit new repel right here. C# for the language. Name it whatever you want.
How do you get it into dark mode?
Huh?
I want to get mine in dark mode.
If you want it to be in dark mode, you'll click. Not here. Let's see. I think go away. It's this little gear, and then theme dark.
Yeah. My mother, being an old Hello, world. Hello.
Guys in the back, can y'all see that? The text?
Yes.
See it okay? Okay.
Oh, why are you using Microsoft? I don't know. But we can from that. And then you go to Replit.
All right, so let's take a look at what a for loop is. What do you guys think a for loop is?
Where it loops back.
Right, it's going to loop a specific piece of code some predetermined amount of times. The way you get how many times it will loop is this right here. So just like an if statement starts with if, for loop starts with a for. This int I equals 1 is the initialization statement. There's more info over there on the board. So we're going to initialize an iterator variable. Who knows what iterator means? What do you think? What does iteration mean? Iterator is something that repeats a lot, which fits perfectly with a loop. So this int I equals 1 is going to be our iterator, and it's going to start at 1. So this is a variable that exists only within the scope of this for loop. This next statement, I smaller than or equal to 10, what does that look like?
Like any number below.
It looks like an if statement because it is an if statement.
Just with an I?
You can have an if statement with an I. Yeah, with G. Anything you want. So this is an if statement. This is what is going to be, this is the condition that will be checked before each loop. So if I is smaller than or equal to 10, if that is true, then the code within the for loop will be able to be run. If I starts at 1, will this loop run? Because why? Is 1 smaller than or equal to 10? Yes, cool. So this is going to run. This last little piece is something, think of it as it's tacked on at the end of the for loop. So once it has finished one pass through, it's going to do whatever is in this statement. It is called the iteration statement. So we're going to increase our iterator variable by some amount. What do you think plus plus does? Adds what?
Adds the number itself, and that comes after the plus plus.
Yeah, kind of. It adds 1 to whatever this variable is. It just increases its value by 1. So how many times is this for loop going to run?
10 times.
Why?
Because the limit is less than or equals to 10. So once it hits over that, it will just stop.
Right. So this is going to print out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to copy that, paste it here. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. What if I changed whatever I is to 8? Oops. How many times will this run?
2 times.
So,
Infinite number generator.
so what we're going to talk about that. That's called an infinite loop. And you don't want that. So how many times is this going to loop?
Twice.
One.
3 times.
Oh,
Because 8, 9, and 10.
oh. Well, that's-
What if I changed our conditional statement? Now it has to be less than 10, not equal.
It would just be, twice.
Twice?
So would it run 10?
I was going to say 8 and 9. Because once it gets to 10, once I increases at the end to 10, 10 is not smaller than 10. Yeah.
Let's just say, for instance, you had like 10, we would go up to 10, but the I equals, say if it was something like 0.3 repeating, like would it just not work?
What do you mean? Like if I wanted this to be like that?
No, I mean like on the I equals,
Okay.
since it technically can't ever get there, would it just not work?
So right now, you can't put a decimal number into an integer, but we can make our iterator a float if we wanted to. You should be able to compare a float to an int, but maybe not. So it's going to say 8.3, increase it by 1 to 9.3, then increase it again to 10.3, and 10.3 is not smaller than 10. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Zero.
So normally, you're going to start your for loop at 0. It's just a good habit. You'll understand why in a few weeks, but I would recommend if you're just having one that just loops however many times, I would just get into the habit of starting it at 0. But you don't have to. You can always you can do whatever you want, just like almost anything in programming.
And do 200.
Yeah, I mean you can 2000, smaller than 2005. It'll print out something different for I, but it's still going to repeat the same amount of times. It all just depends on whatever you need your loop to do. So we've talked about how to go up, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How do I go from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0? Minus, minus, okay? So what else do I need to change? Huh? To what? To 5? Huh? Higher than 5. To what? Wait, just give me a number. 10, okay. Do I need to change anything else? What do I need to change this to?
Or greater than.
Okay, let's change this to greater than. So now this will print 109876. What if I had kept this way? What will it print? Nothing, exactly. You guys are getting it. So it's nothing. So the original condition, I smaller than 5, is false because I starts at 10. What if I had this, but I forgot to change to my minus minus? I kept it as plus plus. What will this print?
Nothing. Oh,
Does the original condition pass? Is 10 greater than 5?
oh, yeah. I thought that was nothing. We'll just go on forever then.
This is what Nicholas was talking about. It's going to go forever. Generally, you don't ever want this. Replic's kind of cool. Usually, if that happens, it will just crash. This is going to happen to every single one of you. And it's really funny when it does happen.
What?
This. Something you don't want. I like watching that. Usually
It's like watching paint dry.
normally, maybe they've updated Replit, but last year, if this happens, it would like crash the browser and you'd have to start all the way over. And it was awesome.
So glad it's not that.
But I guess it's not that anymore. It's a shame. So we can print I within this for loop. What if I wanted to print out I when the for loop is over?
You just get it outside of it.
Dude, big brain it.
Is this going to work?
I don't think so.
Why?
Because it's below the if statement and I doesn't have a variable for the if statement.
Okay.
That makes it-
So I does not exist in the current context.
Yeah.
So whatever your iterator variable is, only exists within this for loop, within these two brackets right here. So if I wanted to make another for loop after that, I would still use I. Why do we use I? Why not A? Why not index? Why not? Why is it I? What is I? What are we using it as? I said it earlier. What does the board say?
Flow?
Oh, it's an interior variable.
It is an iterator, so we call it I. You can call it whatever you want. Doesn't matter. Could be A, could be whatever. As long as you use it. It's just any other variable, just like normal, but it's just only within the scope of the for loop. Traditionally, you use I because it just stands for iterator. That's it. I've seen people use index before. You can do that too. I don't really care. As long as you're consistent. But I is really the go-to. So I can use I twice, create two completely different I variables, and it runs perfectly fine. This one goes down, this one goes up. You don't want to make your iterator variable outside of the for loop. Generally not a very good idea because this will work, except this won't. It'll tell me I is already used. I have to do like J. Oh, man. So you can create the iterator variable outside of the for loop, but then it's no longer held to the scope of the for loop. So maybe you want that, maybe you don't. Helpful tip, you probably don't ever need this. You really want it to be exclusive to inside your for loop. It's gonna make your life easier to think of it that way. Let's see, we've talked about going up, talked about going down, talked about infinite for loops. What is the last one? Oh, okay. So what if I wanted, so right now we can only increment one at a time. Up once or down once, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What if I wanted to iterate 2 times per loop? How could I do that? So I'm definitely going to change something here. Huh?
Put another 2, I think.
Another 2, like this?
Or does it make no sense?
I see where your logic is going, but no. Huh? Shift 8? So you can set it equal to I plus 2. Just like how we tallied up the total for the receipt, you can just add any number you want to it. It's just some expression. Oh, hang on. Oh. So it's going to print out 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. I put a 3 and do the same thing. 0, 3, 6, 9. Now, if you don't feel like writing this all out, because you don't have to, you can just do plus equals. That's the same thing as saying I equals I plus 3, I plus equals 3 is the same. Just shorthand. You don't have to, but it's easier. Yeah, and it works with multiply, works with subtraction.
Man, whoever invented C# props to them.
Whoa, oh, it starts at 0, so you can't multiply that.
Who invented C#?
Who invented C#?
Yeah, this is what happened.
Microsoft.
Was it invented?
It's a good question.
You should get a good question.
2000. Oh yeah, Anders Hillsberg. What else did he do? Let's go back to plus equals. So I'm sure you guys can already see the uses for a for loop. How could you use it to enhance your choose your own adventure game?
Like a countdown timer when you're supposed to choose something.
Yeah, you could do that. That's a good idea.
Why that's harder though. Suspense.
Suspense. So how would I do a countdown timer?
I know
You know. You know how to do it.
A countdown timer?
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, that's with like the pauses and everything you can do.
Yeah,
You have to put it in like at the top, below using system.
Yeah. Or was it system.sleep?
Yeah, it was like sleep. It was system.sleep, I believe. But you have to put it like where using system is at. I could actually go to my previous reference. Right here. Yeah, I put it using, it was using system.threading, actually.
Oh, up here?
Yeah, but below that.
Like that?
And then you would do thread.sleep, and not system dot sleep, it would be thread dot
Thread
sleep.
dot sleep. Okay.
Yeah, thread dot sleep, and then like 2000 that would be milliseconds, so like 2 seconds.
Yeah. Thread it. Rep whatever loads.
I found it. And then I got a funny meme out of my. So wait, will it do one number per second?
Yeah. Full thread. You sure it was toe? Zero, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's spending 1 second for every loop. What other uses could we use that for loop for to enhance our game? Maybe the receipt, huh?
Maybe like if you go back to something.
Yeah, you can use that to, instead of the go go up to the top. Maybe you get stuck in the lost woods and you keep looping through paths. Maybe it's good at the very ends. You could make this. We'll learn more about game loops later, but for right now, like you could have your whole game within a for loop, and when you get to the end, it'll loop back to the beginning and go through it.
Kind of like Star Blast.
Not like that at all.
You die and then you start to begin.
Kind of.
No gems.
So let's see if there's anything else I want to talk about. Oh yeah. So just like how we've nested if statements, you can also nest a for loop. Now for my iterator variable, can I call it I? I could if I have two for loops next to each other, but can I do it if one is inside of the other? Let's try it. Let's see what happens, just for fun.
Yo.
Let's see if it runs.
Yo, champ. Uh-oh.
All right, so you're going to get this variable, this error message. A local variable named I cannot be declared in this scope because it would give a different meaning to I, which is already used in a parent or current scope to denote something else. Basically, that means you've already used I here. So you can't, because that iterator variable only exists within the scope of the for loop, this for loop is within the scope of this outer for loop. You can't use I. What variable could you use? P. Technically anything but I. But which one should you use?
I too.
You don't know the answer to this, I'm just asking. Huh? F? Index. So traditionally, you would use whatever letter comes after I, which is J.
I get to think about
You
that.
use J.
What's the other thing?
What is the alphabet? I don't know my ABCs.
No.
I didn't go in
So
my-
now we have a functional nested for loop. What is this for loop going to print out? 2 yos and then what?
Champ. Broken.
So it's going to say 2 yos and then 8 champs. All right, let's check it out. It's going to give me 5 yo-yo champs.
Yo-yo champ.
So here's how this works. Now this is, if you're lost, super duper pay attention because this is tricky. I won't lie. So this outside for loop is going to run I is smaller than, or 0 is smaller than 5. And then we're going to look at this whole for loop. This whole for loop is going to finish its loop before it gets here. Just like how this for loop is going to finish its whole loop until it gets here. So we come in, I is 0, 0 is smaller than 5, cool. All right, now we're in this for loop. J is 0, J 0 is smaller than 2, cool, we're gonna write yo. We're gonna increase J, now it's 1. Is 1 smaller than 2? Yep, let's write yo. All right, let's increase J. J is now 2, is 2 smaller than 2? No, all right, this for loop is done. We're finished with it. On to the next line of code. Now it says champ. Let me get here. All right, let's increase I. So now I is 1. It's 1 smaller than 5. Yep. So we get into our for loop, and we're going to redo this whole thing. It's been reset. J is now 0 again. Once J is 2, once we print it out yo twice, we're going to write this and delete J. J is gone. J only exists within that for loop. Once it's finished, it's gone. And we finish that, we increase I. Now I is 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5. 5's not smaller than 5, so we're done. Both I and J are deleted. We're going to be done. It's going to say yo-yo, champ, repeat. Yo-yo, champ, repeat. 5 times. You'll nest for loops kind of often, especially at least one level, but we can go even further beyond. What would be the next letter? K. Yep. Okay, sounds good. And where we're at. All right. What's that going to do? We got for loop inception.
That is confusing.
It's confusing. At the same time, it's not though, because it's perfectly readable. What's the first thing it's going to print? Actually, hang on. I need to change this. What's the first thing it's going to print? And then it's going to wait 0.2 seconds, and then what's it going to print?
Yo.
Is it going to print yo?
Well.
K is now 1. We've looped here. Okay. I am the, wait, it's 200 milliseconds. And we're back up here. Because this is all in a loop. So it prints out I am the, and then what does it print out?
Champ.
Why would it skip 2 whole for loops?
Wait, no. Hello.
Gonna print out I am the loop. What's it gonna print out next? Okay, 3 I am those. And then what? Loop. And then it's gonna say
Oh, it's gonna be done.
it's gonna just completely skip every single for loop and just go right to the end.
After all, yeah.
You can type this in and hit play. So it's going to say, I am the 3 times. So then we're done with this for loop. And it's going to print out yo. And then it's going to go back and repeat. Go into this for loop. I am the 3 times, and then hit yo. And then it's going to say champ.
Oh. Huh. Keep going forever.
No, it's going to do it until this one loops 5 times. So it's going to say, let's see, 1, 2, 3, this 5 times. You pretty much all will never nest 3 times. Definitely never do even more because it gets too hard to follow. Even 3 is kind of hard to follow. But just showing you that you can do it. You can go as far as you want. But if you ever get this deep, there's a better way to do whatever you're trying to do. So stop and think about it, because this uses up so many cycles. And I usually lose everyone when I start talking about these. But that's it. Does anyone have any questions on for loops? Anything that's confused you? Anything you want clarification on? Anything you want to see happen? Huh? Do what? Oh, infinity? Okay.
Let it go from 1 to Can we make it go like, just say progress instead of 1 to 1,000, let it go. And each one just says progress. Progress 1. Progress.
What do you want to say? Here, I'll put the, how would I write poggers and then the index variable or the iterator variable?
You put maybe like this letter would equal 5.
How would I add I to the end of the string? You've done it every day, every single assignment. It's not a trick question. How would I write a variable to the console?
Okay.
Joseph, how would I add I to the end of this console.write?
Space plus space.
There you go. Space plus I. So it's not a trick question.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Now that's what I like to see.
I think
Just
that
stop.
game could God, I wanna do that now.
Did it crash?
The
No,
guy,
I mean,